Hey dude, so I think I've posted something about this today even, like, I'm on Christmas holidays, so I'm, like, spending all my time on the internet, so I'm making videos more often than usual, because things are popping in my head, and I have the time and whatever to actually make videos, so once I go back to school on Monday, the amount of times uploading will extremely decrease, because I'll not have so much free time on my hands. Anyway, so since I've been on the internet like crazy, Facebook, hi, yay! Anyways, this post about the 21 biggest LGBT allies, um, I'll put the link to that article in the doobly-doo, and one of them is, I'll actually think I'll link it separately, was this video of this straight man, his name being David Stevens, his a YouTube video that he made after a message he got about his gay brother's wedding. He's straight, but he was talking about how much this emotionally affected him. And that got me thinking. I'm not saying that he's doing this specifically or whatever else. It's just my brain. I started thinking on my own tangent and talking about people in general. So I'm not attacking David Stevens. I applaud him for his reaction and everything else. But just something I've noticed about people in general is that when it comes to sexual orientation or gender identity or anything like that, it always seems to be people always forget everyone that isn't gay or straight, cis-gendered. It's all about gay rights, and it's all about straight this versus gay this, and then a lot of times everyone else gets forgotten about. Now, me myself, I am gay, homosexual, cisgendered woman. Um, in case anyone's wondering, cisgender means you identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth. So if you were born and they said, "Oh, it's a girl," and you still grow up, and you never felt you were a man, you all throughout your whole life, "Yep, I'm a woman. I 100% identify with that." You're a cisgendered woman, and same thing goes for guys. I'll get the other, you know what I mean. So I find, bisexuality, pansexuality, asexuality, sapiosexuality, you name it, sexuality is completely ignored and forgotten about. Now, granted, a lot of people haven't heard of some of the other ones, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. But there's also the factor of, like, bisexuality. I'm sure everyone's heard of it. Well, at least most people have. And yet that one's completely ignored a lot too, because I guess people say, it's like, well, you still like dudes, so, like, if you're a girl, you still like dudes, or if you're a guy, you still like girls, so you don't have to deal with as much. But actually, they tend to deal with more, because people find out they're bisexual, and they get discrimination both from members of the heterosexual community and the homosexual community, because they get this all the time. You gotta choose a side. That kind of false fallacy. The whole thing about bis, just being indecisive and not knowing what they like yet, and they're just figuring it out. When really bisexuality is a legitimate and individual sexual orientation, just like homosexuality or heterosexuality, or any other sexuality. And they kind of, like, also, there's kind of the assumption that someone has to have a sexual attraction, which isn't always the case, such as with asexuality, and that they have no sexual attraction to people whatsoever. They can have romantic attraction, they can still have romantic relationships, but they just have no sexual need or desire. So, but those people are kind of like, "Oh, no, you're just, repressed," or whatever else. But anyways, it's really interesting how it must feel for people whose not part of the mainstream sexuality, to constantly hear about these rights and changes in legislation, or just people talking about it in general, to be completely ignored. Because you're not straight, you're not gay, so you're not really mentioned a whole heck of a lot. And then there's transgender people who are kind of, if not ignored, hated, because, well, or they're locked with the gay people. People think that a transgendered woman is just a really, really gay man, instead of being a woman who can be gay in and of herself. She can be attracted to other women, or she could be bi, or she could be pan, she could be any sexual orientation. Like, gender identity does not determine sexual orientation. Like, one of my friends who's transgender, she's polypan. So there you go. Poly meaning that, polyamorous meaning you and your partners have agreed that you have multiple relationships, and that's okay with everyone. No one's cheating because you leave it out in the open that you are poly just means that you kind of want or you desire, or you're okay with, or I'm not fully researched on that, so sorry if I misrepresented. If you do know a lot about polyamorous romantic or polyamorous people, whatever, I'm sorry I'm being really offensive right now, but comment all you know about it in the comment section below, because I think I'm butchering the explanation. And I don't want to waste time in this video googling it, because again, I'm uploading straight to YouTube because that's what I do, because these are just random thoughts and I'm moving on now. Anyways, and transgender men are kind of, I remember saying this one time, and when my a transgender male friend, not so much anymore, which might be this is why, I said invisible to society, and then he was very upset, saying like, oh, I can't pass as a guy. People think I'm just a dyke all the time. I wish I was invisible, and I was like trying to explain to him, but then it was in a group situation, and I never managed to. What I mean by invisible to society, I mean people don't know you exist. As in, people know all about transgender women, but people don't know much. A lot of people haven't even heard of transgendered men, and whenever they see a transgendered man, they think they're just a lesbian. They don't think they're an actual guy. I mean, they think that they're a lesbian, and what I mean by invisible to society is that they're ignored. Not that they pass as what they wish to pass as, is in that they're ignored, the way that the homeless people tend to be seen as invisible to society. So, like, transgender men are kind of, people don't recognize them as much. Actually, they recognize them far less, but I suppose that's better than being extremely hated, which is what happens to transgender women, because they tend to receive more discrimination, because just like a boy dressing up in a skirt gets a lot more, people getting angry or telling him he's wrong, than a girl dressing up completely in boys' clothes and having short hair, because it actually, I remember my brother used to say that this was discrimination against men, but it's actually discrimination against women, because the man is putting himself on a lower level by becoming feminine, whereas the woman is putting herself on a higher level by becoming masculine. Yay, sexism. Blech. I'm not saying that I'm not the kind of person who hates on men or anyone else. There's sexism on both ways, and it's got to change. There just right now is more sexism towards women. Not that there's none against men. Anyways, back to my original point and topic. Yeah, so it's really interesting that everything is all about these certain people. Like, you have to be one or the other. That's polar opposites, but all in common being cisgendered. And it's kind of wrong, because far more of the society is not like, there's far more people who aren't homosexual or heterosexual than there are that are homosexual. So I'm not going to say combined or heterosexual, because there are far more heterosexuals, which is why our population is still growing. Plus, homosexuals have kids too. Jesus Christ. I'm swearing using a religious figure's name that might have offended someone. Sorry, not my. And you can't say thou shalt not use the Lord's name in vain bullshit to me, because it's not my Lord. Different religion. Anyways, I'm gonna shut up now before I offend anyone else. Sorry if I offended you in this video. It was not my intent. I kind of curse like a sailor sometimes, and I fuddle my explanations. If I did, if there is some way you could have corrected what I said to inform others, comment, because again, I am not an expert on everything, so I do fuck up my explanations sometimes. So go ahead in the comment section below. I'm gonna stop recording before I fuck up anything else. Bye bye.